about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So people are talking about Ibogaine. Sometimes they call it Ibogaine, but I believe it's pronounced Ibogaine. And in fact, former Texas Governor Rick Perry is becoming an advocate for Ibogaine. Apparently, he traveled to Tijuana, Mexico, back in September 2023. According to Daily Mail, the former Secretary of Energy for President Trump spent 12 hours hallucinating that he was flying through space, seeing hieroglyphics, and escaping the devil. But he said after that, he woke up clear-headed, had a warm feeling in his body, he was calm, and as happy as I'd been in memory. Now, this Ibogaine has been it's not new. People have been using it for addictive disorders, for mental health disorders. It's been used in a wide variety of applications. And former Governor Perry, knew that many veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan were considering it. He first heard about Ibogaine through a Navy SEAL he had hired back in 2017 during his time running the Energy Department. The SEAL, Morgan Luttrell, told Governor Perry he was taking off to travel to Mexico to be treated with it while he was continuing to suffer from post-traumatic stress issues from his deployment. So Perry had told him to be careful. Obviously going to Mexico to get a treatment, doesn't usually bode well in the medical community. We usually get a little nervous about something like that. But he decided to try it. He says it's literally given people his lives back. He said he suffered from 3 concussions during his youth. He also struggled with anxiety during his political career. He took an MRI before and after his Ibogaine experience. He's 73 years old. He said beforehand, his brain showed evidence of atrophy. But he says the atrophy, 6 months after his trip, had vanished. Now, atrophy doesn't vanish per se, so I'd like to look a little deeper at the MRIs, but he's feeling better. He said he was told by his doctor, his neurosurgeon, Dr. Charles Gordon, who is a psychedelic skeptic, he said, you have the brain of a 40-year-old. So Perry has co-founded the nonprofit American for Ibogaine. I know people call it Ibogaine, but I guess it's Gaine. And it's still illegal. It's not a legal drug. It's a Schedule I under the 1970s Controlled Substances Act. But he's a believer. And so he's, been talking to people about it and advocating for there to be research. And there was a study Stanford published looking at the psychoactive effects and how it effectively treats traumatic brain injuries in special ops military vets. Stanford researchers have discovered that the plant-based psychoactive drug Ibogaine, when combined with magnesium to protect the heart, safely and effectively reduces PTSD, anxiety, and depression, and improves functioning in veterans with TBI. Now, there's a key message in there. They had to add magnesium to protect the heart. One side effect of Ibogaine is cardiac arrest. Maybe they've identified that's because of the magnesium effects. So this study was published 2 weeks ago in Nature Mental Health, where Dr. Williams and his team analyzed EEG or electroencephalography MRI scans from 30 veterans to look at their neural mechanisms underlying their cognitive improvements. They found that veterans who improved in executive function after Ibogaine treatment also showed an increase in type of brainwave known as theta rhythms. They found that the veterans with lowered PTSD symptoms after treatment also showed reduction in the complexity of brain activity in the brain cortex. So they speculate that these theta rhythms may encourage neuroplasticity, cognitive flexibility, while less complex cortical activity may lower the heightened stress response seen in PTSD. Now, people always ask, is this similar to Akahuesa? Or Akahuesa, I believe, is more psychedelic in terms of feelings. They believe that what's happening here is it is actually affecting the neurotransmitters. Now, let me see if I have a little bit more information on that. And I apologize. I had this up, and of course, my computer doesn't want to go into that. It comes from, it's an indole alkaloid. It comes from the Tabernathi iboga shrub. It's also found in the Vibacanga africana tree, found in West Africa. And they've been using it for ceremonial and medicinal uses. In the 1960s, they used it for heroin addiction, self-treating opiate withdrawal. But it's hallucinogenic as well as brain stimulating effects have been used for multiple different applications, not only rituals and ceremonials, but also as antidepressants. The effects cause psychedelic, dissociative effects. It could affect the central nervous system. It'll also maybe induce dopamine, serotonin, your nicotinic, your GABA, your muscarinic receptors. And there's multiple phases that end up happening. This visionary phase that takes place 1 to 3 hours after using it. Then there's the introspection phase happening between 4 to 8 hours, where you get these reflective emotions. And then the residual phase, 12 to 24 hours, lower arousal levels, and you feel more sleepy. And so they've been noticing in some of these studies that it could treat addiction. It could treat such as opioid dependence. It could treat PTSD, anxiety, depression. But there are side effects to it. Nausea, vomiting, cardiac arrest. And so this isn't something that we are advocating for at this point, but it is something that we are advocating, we study and we research, because I am not naive enough to think that we don't have plants and we don't have substances on this earth that we could be using for medicinal applications, such as PTSD and anxiety, depression, and addiction. So keep going, guys. 1-877 Doc Daliah. Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon, or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's Aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media.
are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So I don't care what the media thinks in terms of Trump having the National Guard partner with D.C. police to get crime rates down. I don't care what the media thinks. I want to know what the people of D.C. think. I want to know what the criminals think. If they're scared, good. And I want to know what the police in D.C. think. How do the police feel about it? Well, according to the police chief, we're being told that Greg Pemberton, the police union chief, says that his department is fully on board with receiving the extra help. According to News Nation Now, this Liberation Day in D.C., where Trump is deploying the National Guard to help D.C. police crack down on crime and homelessness, Greg Pemberton, D.C. police union chief, says, I think they will have a big impact on actually being able to make arrests and do investigations. So we welcome all of this help. Okay, that's what I need to hear. If the police want this and the police need it, we help them. Just like with the border. This is what Kamala Harris should have done as border czar. Go down to the border that day, meet with the officials, meet with everybody who was standing, guard at the wall that Biden wouldn't build, that Trump started, and say, what do you guys need? Whatever you need, we're here to help. That's how the executive branch is supposed to work. What do your constituents need? What do your districts, your cities, your communities need? What do your first responders need? And how do we help? Pemberton says he agrees with Trump's assessment that crime in the D.C. area is out of control. He says that, back to 2020, when D.C. City Council passed legislation that handcuffed police officers and made it impossible to charge criminals. He said, since then, we are down 800 sworn positions. Our authorized strength is 4,000 sworn officers. We currently have 3,180. So more than 800 vacancies here on the police department. He said the way that the department makes up for that shortage is through 2 million hours of mandatory overtime, which just adds to the burnout and the attrition rate here in the city. This is the main reason we can't get a handle on crime ourselves. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's a no-brainer. Now, currently, this is only a 30-day trial. They call it a takeover in the media. I don't think the National Guard is necessarily taking over. They are partnering with the police. The troops are not expected to openly carry weapons, but they are going to establish a presence, let people, according to let people in these neighborhoods know that there are folks with law enforcement capabilities active in those areas. And they can always report directly to police officers as to what they see and what they are observing. And they said some federal officers will be receiving some hand-holding from D.C. police to show them where crime is happening and how. Of course, the local police department has more of the finger on the pulse of what's going on in the Capitol. Absolutely. And so I look at it as a partnership, and one that is long overdue. And I don't understand why there's so much resistance to it. And I get it. It's just, people they just want to argue. They just want to be anti-Trump. But if, our police don't get the help they need, it's our job to help them. So where are we going next? Well, apparently there's a free DC movement. This is absolutely ridiculous. And there are now people protesting, and this is being funded from allegedly left-wing dark money mega donors, including George Soros. According to New York Post, several left dark money organizations, including George Soros, contributed more than $20 million to groups funding protests against President Trump's crime crackdown in D.C. It's called Free D.C. Free D.C. They make it act like the government is taking over. Look, crime is taking over. We're trying to free you from the crime. So are you supporting Trump's efforts? No. They just want to, act like it's government takeover. So they say it's a fiscally sponsored special project of progressive nonprofits, community change and community change action. And there was 150 demonstrators near the White House Monday to protest Trump's plan to use National Guard troops to help the police. And some of their instructions were to do not obey in advance, to take up space, to go outside at 8 p.m., and bang pots and pans, sing, chant, and make noise for 5 minutes every night of this occupation. How is that helping address the crime? So you're distracting the police? Now there has to be police. When there are these demonstrators, now there has to be police presence to make sure nobody gets hurt and there's no riots. How is that helping? Free DC has scheduled multiple events since Monday's anti-Trump protest, including cop watch training. And, they want to, I guess, resist anything that Trump and the police are trying to do. And I'm looking at this Free DC little demonstration. It's sad because the whole purpose of this is to make sure DC is safe. And Trump has every right with our nation's capital to make sure that you could go to a museum and not get gunned down because of your religious beliefs, where you could go and look at the Jefferson Memorial, the Lincoln Memorial, have lunch, go take the subway, go to work without being carjacked, beaten, raped, killed. And if Trump didn't do it, he would be at fault. Letting crime go rampant is all on the executive branch for not making sure law enforcement had what they needed. And it's on the commander in chief. So he's damned if he do, damned if he doesn't. Now, you're going to hear the media say, well, Cleveland has worse crime than D.C. Chicago has higher numbers of murders than D.C. Well, D.C. is smaller than Chicago. I mean, duh. But if the National Guard in this 30 days, partnering with DC police, get crime rates down and make people feel safe, other states should look to this as a model. And once they refund the police, invest more into community protection, then they might not need the National Guard. I think it's ridiculous that we don't have enough resources for our first responders to do what they need. And when you hear the police union president say this is welcomed, why wasn't this done under the Biden administration? Why wasn't this done before? And now you're seeing millions of dollars from George Soros or the left not go to the rape victims, not go to those victims who've had murdered family members, not going to the victims of those who have been carjacked or their lives turned upside down, but going to people protesting, fighting the crime. It's disgusting. You know what $20 million could do? Yeah, I think what the left needs to do is figure out how to win an election with it not just being about anti-Trump. That loses for them. Because, again, if Trump is about policies like no taxing Social Security, no tax on tips, securing our border, not getting screwed over by other countries, ending the war in Ukraine, getting the hostages out of Gaza, a Democrat acting like they're against that, they look like an idiot. So the left needs to find another way to compete or campaign without looking like they're pro-crime. They're pro-Trinidad. they're pro-Hamas. They have to, and because that's what people are going to infer. And I really don't believe a lot of Democrats are on the left are truly pro-Hamas. They might be anti-Israel, but I don't really believe they're pro-Hamas. They're just trying to be anti-Trump. But in being anti-Trump, you look ridiculous. So they need to figure it out. And I am hoping crime goes down in D.C. and all cities. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. Now, hold on. I just dropped my glasses, and now I can't find my glasses. How do I do that? Oh, I tell you, man, I don't think I've ever done that where I've dropped my glasses on air. Oh, I found them. Hold on a second. Oh, my gosh. Am I really that old where I can't see my glasses? Oh, my Lord, have mercy. All right, I got them. Oh, man, I tell you, I can't stand that. You know, I got LASIK, so I wouldn't have to wear glasses. I was wearing glasses. I've been wearing glasses since the 6th grade. So I get LASIK, finally, because I'm sick of the whole contact lens thing, and I was developing a giant papillary conjunctivitis where my lids were starting to reject my contact lens. So then I end up in my 30s getting LASIK, only to now always need reading glasses, and I'm back to glasses. So I've been pretty frustrated with that. I guess the only thing I get to look forward to is getting cataracts later. And when you get your cataracts lenses changed out, you could get them refracted. So you don't need glasses anymore. So I guess that's I have to wait till I get my cataracts done, which my doctor says I'm way too young for, and I don't have cataracts. I should be happy about that. But let's go to this story about ChatGPT. I never had a problem with Dr. Google. When patients would tell me they went to Dr. Google and they looked something up, I'm completely fine with that. I love the fact that you're educating yourself. And then ask me. If I think you're wrong, I will tell you. If I think you might be putting in the wrong symptom, I'll tell you. And so I don't mind you educating yourself and learning. But AI is a little tricky. Because now instead of people Googling or Binging or DuckDuckGoing a question, it automatically goes to an AI or a chatbot or some sort of ChatGPT prompt. And when people get that answer, they think it is of some authority. Well, we're being told that somebody got sent to the hospital and almost died because of ChatGPT. So it's a 60-year-old man who wanted to cut salt from his diet. I can't believe this happened. And sadly, he used the large language model, LLM, to get suggestions for what to replace it with. This is a case study published in the Annals of Internal Medicine. ChatGPT suggested that if you wanted to cut his sodium chloride or table salt use to swap it out for sodium bromide. What? You don't do that. That could be toxic. But that's what ChatGTP suggested. So he did this for 3 months. Sodium bromide is a chemical compound that can resemble salt, but it's toxic. I guess they did use it medicinally as an anticonvulsant and a sedative, according to Fox News. But we use it more in cleaning chemicals. In fact, I think, didn't we ban it with pool use? I need to look it up. Sodium bromide, I have to look up. I thought we did something where we banned part of its use in terms of our disinfectants. Well, anyway, he's ingesting it because ChatGPT suggested to swap out his sodium chloride. By the time he got to the hospital, he had fatigue, insomnia, poor coordination, facial acne, cherry angiomas or hemangiomas, which are red bumps on the skin, which is denoting vascular inflammation, excessive thirst. These are all symptoms of bromism, a condition caused by long-term exposure to sodium bromide. I want every medical student to read this case study because when somebody comes in with these symptoms, you're not going to be thinking, sodium bromide or bromism. But you have to get a good history and find out, is there anything new they've been doing? And you have to ask them anything, any trends you learned on TikTok or ChatGTP, and because some of them might not remember. They're sick. And then when you ask him, is there anything you've done differently trying to become healthier? And then if he says, yeah, I don't do sodium chloride anymore, I do sodium bromide, well, then there's your answer. He was paranoid, and he felt that it was his neighbor trying to poison him. He had auditory and visual hallucinations. He had to be put in a psychiatric hold because he attempted to escape. So they gave him IV fluids, electrolytes, put him on antipsychotic medication. After 3 weeks, he recovered enough to leave the hospital. Why? ChatGTP. Now, they don't have access to his ChatGTP conversation log, so they don't know exactly what the output he received was. Now, I think ChatGTP does have a way to save it, but if you don't save it, that's some scary stuff. And I have seen time and time again, ChatGTP have scientific inaccuracies. But that's what people are using. They want that Jarvis from Iron Man, where they just speak to something and they get the answer they need, and they feel that answer is at 100% accuracy. I find this very, very scary. And another reason why I find it scary, and maybe it's because I've seen Terminator 2 so many times, is I do believe that if artificial intelligence is posed with the question on how to deal with our Medicare and Social Security funding issue, or how to deal with world hunger, or how to deal with a lot of the crises we have in terms of pollution and the climate, my fear is these artificial intelligence responses are going to be more instinctual, not in terms of instinct, but extinct, meaning, well, if the humans weren't here, it would be better. That Postcards from the Earth, Las Vegas Sphere movie, it's about us going extinct and it being a good thing. And I feel that's where computers and AI will go when posed a question. Because they're like, well, if you don't have enough money for the older people, then maybe don't let the older people live as long. Who knows where it'll go. And I'm not saying ChatGTP purposely poisoned this guy. But does it have the power to? What if its algorithm is somebody stupid enough to ask me medical advice because they're too lazy or they don't want to go to a doctor? I'll give them the wrong information. Where can this go? I'm not saying he was stupid to go to ChatGPT. He was looking for suggestions. And a lot of us don't even realize that it's AI. I didn't realize I was getting AI answers. I'm stupid. I'm Googling something, and then all of a sudden there's something that fades in. And I was like, is that a Google answer or is that an AI answer? So it's only a matter of time that computers are going to try to solve all the world problems by suggesting less of a population, less of a human population. And are they going to be direct about it, or are they going to be subtle? And so it is going to be human against computer. It's already that way with our jobs. It's already that way with our love lives. Look at how we have individuals bragging that they are engaged to their AI fiance. Look at how people spend so much time watching porn and not being intimate with their partner. People are preferring their computer, and we're getting sucked in. We are going to be very vulnerable, and then they are going to tell us to do something to ourselves that can poison us. You know, it's interesting because back in the 80s, when I was growing up, if somebody said, Daliah, if you need a ride at 11 o'clock at night, you need to go into a stranger's car and let them take you home, I would be like, you are out of your flippin' mind. Yet now we call Uber and a stranger picks us up. If you told me to take my credit card, although I didn't have one in the 80s, and you put the information in or you give it to somebody so you could buy something, I'm like, no, somebody's going to use it and spend it. But that's what we do. And now we're trusting our health with these computers. 1-877 Doc Daliah, don't go away. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I talk a lot about my kids. You know, I had to raise 2 boys. Tried to do that while, coming out of school and opening to practice and working and everything else. And having boys is fun. I don't know how I would have raised a girl. I don't know. She would have hated me. But I had boys. And with boys, they love their mama. But I was I was more of the disciplinarian than my husband. And I didn't hit them. I didn't want to. I tried giving them a spanking. Didn't work. They just laughed. One had a butt like mine, which was kind of a bubble butt where it wouldn't feel anything. And the other one, he has a flat butt where you were hitting bone. So I would actually hurt my hand. And he's giggling, going, when is this supposed to hurt, Mom? So that didn't work. So what I used to do, timeout didn't work with the kids either. I put them in timeout that sit there and giggle. So what I would do is I would take things away, or I would make them do push-ups or sit-ups. Like drop and give me 20. And that worked. And it worked a lot. And all I have to do is say, drop and give me 20. And if I wanted to go up to 50, I could have, but I didn't have the time to sit there and count. I'd lose count. But it was a really effective way to punish the kids. And I didn't hit them. I mean, I grew up with belts and all that. I didn't want to do that with the kids. I didn't have to yell and scream. I didn't have to lose my voice because I couldn't lose my voice. I had to see patients and I had to be on air. So it was a way for me to be effective. If it works in the military, it should work at home. And it did. The kids didn't like it. And I only had to do it a few times. When they were younger, they were each giving each other the middle finger. I wanted to get them to stop. They wouldn't. I put them in timeout. They were giggling. So what I decided to do was paint their middle fingers with some of my sparkly nail polish. And they didn't have access to nail polish remover. So the only way for them to hide that I nail polished their middle finger was to hide their middle finger. Really hard to give somebody the finger when it has nail polish on it. So, you know, as a parent, there are ways to be creative. Now, when you have a child that is very difficult to discipline, it is tough. And I suggest you get help. Don't try to escalate things yourself. As doctors, counselors, we have ways where we could help you. So you don't have to go to hitting or locking them up or, et cetera. But interestingly, there's a dad who's being criticized for doing something really similar to what I think a lot of us Gen X parents decided to do in terms of drop and give me 20. Apparently, there was this kid who was, the camera was on in the kitchen, and the kid was mouthing off to the mom. And the mom told him to do something, and he's like, Mom, chill. Now, the mom, was busy. Okay, see, for me, I'd be like, what the, are you kidding me? Okay, and I mean, the world would have stopped right there. Even the dog would have held their breath because I would have been like, excuse me? Well, the stepdad heard, and the stepdad said, no. Drop and give me, I think he made him do 10 push-ups, and then he made him do 10 squats. And then he talked to him about it, saying, why did I make you do this? Did you tell your mom to chill? And he explains, not the most respectful thing to do. And then he gives the kid a hug. And the video is going viral. And it doesn't look like it was planned. It looked. What was also interesting is you see the younger sibling watch from that's always something that happens. One sibling's getting in trouble and the other sibling watches. Either they watch because, see, me, I would go the other way because I didn't want to be anywhere near that. And I didn't want to be seen and then get disciplined also. So I would hide. But now they're just so fascinated by seeing, what is Big Brother getting in trouble for? What happens? But it's double bonus because then the other siblings are saying, wait a second, you mouth off to Mom, you become disrespectful. This is what could happen. And I let the other kids know, I let both boys know when one got in trouble and what happened so that would save me the trouble of younger son making the same mistake 2-3 years later. Not going to happen. This stuff doesn't fly in this household. All right, so no surprise. None of this, well, give me a mulligan. I didn't know, I couldn't tell you to chill. And, it's interesting because my boys, they would test me. They still do. They'll try to backtalk me. They'll try to, they'll talk as like, Mom, you don't know what you're doing. I got better grades than you. Excuse me? Excuse me. And the one thing my kids have never been able to do, they can now outrun me. They used to not. I was a faster runner. But then once they're boys, they can now beat me in running. They could beat me in sports, which was tough for me, and I think even tougher for Dad. but they can't beat me when it comes to the war of words. And I have no problem leveling them with 2 sentences if I had to. But I don't want to. I don't want to belittle them. I don't want them to fear me. I want them to just stop doing the crap they're doing. And, it's interesting because there's some stereotypes to the way women fight and men fight. And I don't like stereotypes per se, but there are some trends. And so for me, like remember there was a female ref and I had written like, wow, the NFL has a female ref. And then somebody had responded to me going, yeah, but the problem is that she brings up penalties from 2 years ago, which I think is absolutely hilarious. Probably true. But you were offsides and you did this. But if I bring up the past, it's because I don't want them to think this is a one-off and I'm being crazy or there's no logic. Women always have to feel like we have to explain why we're mad. Otherwise, people blame it on our periods or our uterus or our hormones. And when I'm saying, look, this is something we addressed in 2021. This is something we addressed in 1996. This is something we talked about last week. This is why I'm a little frustrated because this is technically the 3rd time I'm discussing it. Now, people are like, oh, gosh, you brought up something from 1996. Well, because that's my argument as to why I have to keep bringing it. Where this isn't the first time, this isn't news. I have to repeat myself, and I don't want to repeat myself because you're going to accuse me of repeating myself, too. And so a lot of us women feel like we already have to present our case. We have to have our legal briefs ready to go and all our supporting arguments because somebody's going to be upset with us and criticize us for us being upset in the first place. So I have to already explain my situation. This is the 17th time I've told you to flush the toilet so I don't have to look at something floating in the toilet. How many times do I have to do this? It's ridiculous. Okay. And you know what? I don't even care anymore. But whereas men, they're like, Corey does things completely different. Well, he doesn't care about the toilet not being flushed. Yeah. Or he comes to me saying somebody's not flushing the toilet. So then I look like the bad guy where I have to yell at everybody. But I think finding creative ways to discipline should be commended. And people are saying what this dad did was cruel. Really? Then how would you handle a mom needing to chill or being told to chill? Some of us need to chill. A child should not tell mom that. If a mom is telling him something or concerned about something, there's a damn good reason for that. Now, if I said chill to my mom, I would lose 5 teeth. So I never did that. These kids now, there's no consequences they feel. And the way they're back talking their parents, I mean, I'll see people online and I'll see, the mom is asking the child about their medical condition and they're rolling their eyes and oh my gosh. If my old eyes rolled one way, I'd get one swat and those eyes would roll the other. So we don't want to hit our kids anymore. So we're going to have to come up with more creative ways to do it. And I think a drop and give me 20 in terms of push-ups, it's brilliant. 1-877-Daliah. Don't go away.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.